Okay, so let's talk about those three different types of companies. The first would be the high yielders. The high yielders, you could call them the yield traps, right? I'm going to use the phrase, but we're going to look at it. And we're definitely going to later on find a lot of yield traps. There's a lot out there. But these are the high yielders. And when I talk about high yielders, I'm talking about these companies paying, 5% plus. Now, again, there are examples of good quality companies here, so I'm not trying to rule these all out, I'm just trying to group them. But these high yielders really broadly have something in common, and that's that they're often companies that are quite mature, they're not growing a lot, and in these instances, you really are swapping growth for that regular payment, and that reflects in the valuations. And these are exactly the same companies which you might have seen online. It would be called a dividend aristocrat or something along those lines. So what that could mean is these companies, maybe they've been paying dividends for 50 years or 70 years or whatever, and they've been increasing it every single year. And you can't fault the actual dividend payments part of the company. Like the dividend payments part of those companies is rock solid. That is not where the issue is. The issue is, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, those companies don't perform in terms of their capital appreciation. And so you well and truly are swapping the capital gain for your dividend payments. The next type of dividend company would be, I'm going to call them the sort of moderate yielders. And how these companies usually work is they're usually paying a sub 4% yield. Again, I'm generalizing here, but sub 4% could be between 1.5 to 4%. But these companies are growing, hopefully growing at least. And so they're growing and they're paying a dividend. And so you're getting, I would say in this instance, a little bit of both. You are getting growth, you're hopefully getting a high quality business that can reinvest and can grow. But those businesses sometimes are just so profitable or such good quality, cash flow generating businesses, they can afford to do both. They can grow and they can pay a dividend. And the last type of company would be what I'm going to call the low dividend payers, or these companies that they pay a dividend, but it's so small, typically sub 1%, it's almost negligible and almost meaningless. Actually, in simply Wall Street, these companies don't even register. And examples of a company like this could be an Apple or a Microsoft, who both pay dividends, but the yield is small. And it's kind of best to think of these companies almost not as dividend payers, right? They're really just, again, they're good quality businesses, and they just happen to pay a very small dividend. It's a much easier way to think about it. And you'd have to own a vast amount of them for that yield to be at all meaningful to you.